So the answer to this question is clearly, obviously. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for stopping in. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button right now and hit that little bell notification as well. You don't want to miss out. We do 3 videos every single week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, and I never miss, except for last week. But we have over 450 videos uploaded to YouTube right now, so I'm sure you're going to find something on this channel that is of interest to you. But today is a very important question that's been asked, and it's been asked a lot recently, and I can't believe I haven't made a video on it yet, but today is the day, and that question is, what should I buy first, wheels or suspension? Now, I have an answer for you, and you may not want to hear it. You may not like what my answer is, but let's dig into this a little bit with some photographic evidence as well, and maybe we'll throw some video clips in there as well. Should I buy wheels first, or should I do suspension first? The true answer is, you should do them both together at the same time, or at least very, very closely together. But that's not the answer, and that's not the answer that I think you're not going to like. But let's dive into this. So there's a couple of advantages of getting wheels first. First of all, a lot of cars come with ugly factory wheels. This channel has been focused heavily on the Infiniti Q50. The Infiniti Q50 is an example for me of a car that has come with not the best wheels. Even the Red Sport wheels are not that great, in my opinion, but certainly the non-sport 17-inch wheels that came on the 2014s, 15s, 16s, maybe even 17s. I'm not even sure how far they went, but they are not great. They're ugly, okay? I don't like them. So it's advantageous, in my opinion, to get wheels first, and this is actually what I did. I went to Lowering Springs shortly after, but I did go for a time with just the wheels being replaced. So you get an idea of what the car's going to look like with a larger diameter wheel. If you go from 17 to 19, for example, you get an idea of what the car's going to look like with a little different style of wheel, or more of a style that you prefer over the factory wheel. And you're just improving the look of the car overall. The disadvantage is, particularly if you're going from a 17 to a 19, or 17 to 18, or 20, whatever the case may be, the car is going to be raised up. In some situations, this isn't that big of a deal. Like BMW, for example, in my opinion, they've always done a great job with their wheel selection. They have always had pretty decent wheels. Even the least fancy wheels that BMW puts on their car, they're still pretty nice. And they've always done a good job as well of tucking those wheels and tires up into the fender wells, up into the wheel wells. They sit pretty well. There's no BMW that really rides high and looks like a 4x4, but Nissan and Infiniti, I think, have done a trash job. Ford has never done a very good job with the Mustangs in particular. They always look less like a sports car and more like a car you're going to take off-roading, and I can't stand that. So when you go from a 17-inch wheel to a 19, or even bigger in some cases, it just accentuates that look. And that was sort of my case, and one thing I didn't like about the Q50 when I went to a 19-inch wheel, even though I liked the style of the wheel and I think the car looked a lot better, that wheel gap and the ride height was just disgusting to me. So that makes one think, hey, maybe I should do suspension first and lower the car. And I say, that's a pretty good idea too, because even on factory wheels, Red Sport wheels, like I said, have never really been my favorite. But even on some wheels that aren't that great looking, improving the ride height of the car makes a big difference. And it can really make it more aggressive. It can make it look a lot better. And I've seen some Q50s even on the factory 17-inch wheels that looked pretty decent lowered an inch or two. So there's some advantages there. The disadvantages are when you lower the car, you get that natural negative camber. So your wheels that are already sunken in, particularly in the Q50, you lower it down, they look like they're even further sunk in. So then you're forced to either run it like that and look gross, or you get wheel spacers, try to push those out. Now you're running wheel spacers that are huge just to get those factory 7.5 or 8-inch wheels pushed out far enough to look halfway decent. So there's pros and cons to both sides. So what is my opinion? And I'm probably missing a couple of pros and cons on both sides, but generally those are a couple of things that come to mind. It's a hard one. And what I'm going to say, and the answer that you're probably not going to like hearing, is that it's up to you. That's maybe a cop-out on my part, but truly it's up to you. What's your priority? Do you want to just improve the look of your wheels and just kind of give your car a little bit more of a clean, aggressive look? Then just throw some wheels on and do suspension later on. If you're looking for a little better handling, a little bit of performance, and you just kind of want a more aggressive stance and you want to get rid of some of that factory wheel gap, throw some suspension components on there, get lowering springs, or go ahead and just jump on some coilovers. You're going to lower that ride height, and depending on what car you have from the factory, those wheels might look halfway decent. Like I said, I can't remember if I cut it out of this video or not, but Ford has always done a pretty decent job of putting some solid looking wheels on their Mustangs, for example, but ride height is an issue. So in that case, just lower it. I would just lower it. BMW, again, has done a pretty good job with their wheels, but they always have a pretty nice stance. So you might get away with just throwing a nice set of wheels on there and leaving the suspension. BMW is known, it is the ultimate driving machine, the ultimate driver's car, right? So you shouldn't really need to adjust or make changes to the suspension unless you're getting really aggressive. So a nice set of wheels might go a long way in changing the overall appearance without having to adjust your ride height. Nissan Infiniti, unfortunately, they seem to suck at both aspects of it. I'm not a huge fan of the Q50 suspension, and I'm not a fan of any of the wheels that they've selected to put on this platform. So, in this regard, I would try to do both as closely together as possible. But ultimately, again, it's up to you. But like I said, I went with wheels first. A couple of months later, I lowered the car. Totally changed how it looked. I got the wheels, the fitment, and everything that I wanted. The wheel dimensions that I wanted, knowing what the car sort of was going to look like in my mind, lowered. And lowering it just helped me reach that ultimate goal. So here we are again with what I would say is perfect fitment. But that's just going to come with a little bit of research. Following some personal preference, budget, of course, because you change wheels, you're going to have to get different tires, but you change the suspension, you're going to have to think about alignment, you're going to have to think about rubbing, you're going to have to think about what wheel specs and tire specs you need to make sure you're going to fit. So I hope that although that answer might not be the one you want to hear, those are some things just to take into consideration. Think about what is required when you throw a new set of wheels on there. Make sure the wheel and tire specs you're looking at are going to your car is going to be able to accommodate them when you do lower it. Lowering a car changes things a lot. The geometry of your suspension overall is going to change. You're going to get some natural negative camber. You're going to have to think about alignment. But if you throw wheels on first and the car is not lowered, if your specs are kind of aggressive, you might get a little bit of wheel poke. You got to determine whether or not you're going to be okay with that, and if you are, how long you're going to be okay with that. How long you're willing to be okay with it until you lower it and get everything dialed in. So just some things to take into consideration. Ultimately, it's personal preference, and ultimately it comes down to as well what platform you're currently in, whether you're a Nissan Infiniti guy, you're a Ford Mustang guy, Chevy guy, other import car, BMW, Audi, whatever the case may be. You have to think about all that entails. But that's sort of just some input for you to take into consideration as you pursue wheels, tires, and suspension. But which one should you choose first? The answer is not that clear and is not that obvious. But I hope, nonetheless, that this video kind of shown some light on a couple of things that you might want to take into consideration. So thank you guys very much for watching. I appreciate the continued support. Let me know in the comment section below which route you would go first, either wheels or suspension, and why. We appreciate your input. Of course, that's what this channel is all about. Community building, sharing thoughts and ideas, sharing information. So I appreciate your input. Thank you again, guys, for watching. The continued support is amazing. Onward and upward for Speed Culture Studios. Onward and upward for you guys. I wish nothing but the best for you. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.